both are, Congress needs to pay attention to. I mean, the costs of congestion on an annual basis are about 4 times our federal investment in surface transportation and transit. I just think about that. We're wasting 4 times as much money as we're investing on an annual basis year after year after year. But around here, we're paralyzed. My God, we can't figure out how we're going to pay for this. How are you ever going to pay for this? Well, let's see, we haven't adjusted the gas and diesel tax since 1993. I've proposed something that's so de minimis that it's just embarrassing that we can't do it. Let's just index the gas and diesel tax and do some bonding and limit the annual increase to 1.5 cents a gallon a year. And I keep saying, I think you're going to lose your election if gas goes up 1.5 cents a gallon. When you drove to work today, you drove by the gas station, it probably went up a nickel or down a nickel on the digital sign. No one's going to notice that, and people around the country have showed that they're willing to pay to get out of congestion. But Congress hasn't got the message. The White House hasn't got the message. They love to talk about, big infrastructure bill. We were up to $2 trillion for 3 weeks, and then we were down to 0. In fact, the proposals in the president's budget consistently cut transportation investment. So, the states can't do it on their own. They're trying. The states are trying. A lot of all red states have raised their gas tax, raised their registration fees, and states that have mixed governments and blue states. It's not a partisan issue out there in America. It just seems to be a partisan issue here in Washington, D.C. And, we're at the point of, total paralysis. I'm not going to repeat the statistics on how much time people waste and the hours. The amount of fuel wasted sitting around, about 4 billion gallons a year. Wasted fuel, adding to the problems with climate change, which some of us believe in. So, it's time to act. Now, we're going to hear some things today that, that you're going to say, well, congestion pricing. Congestion pricing with what kind of alternatives for people? You can't just price people off the roads and say, hey, we solved congestion. That person doesn't set their schedule to go to work, most likely. And they don't have a lot of options. Unless you build sufficient options, you can't just price people off the road. And when Eleanor talked about $47 for 10 miles, $4.70 a mile, hell, that's not even a Lexus lane. That's a chauffeured limousine lane. Who can afford that? In my own state, we have freeways. We don't have tolls. Now the mayor and some in the legislature, Portland have decided, well, maybe we ought to just toll parts of our freeways to deal with some problems. But of course, it isn't even going to be like the hot lane. No one's going to have an option. You're going to either use it or not use it. What about diversion? What about people who have to go from east side of Portland to the west side of Portland to Intel to go to work? Oh, sorry, it's going to take you 2 hours or it's going to cost you a bunch of money that you can't afford. So we need a comprehensive approach, which is more federal investment. And then we need to start applying technology, smart technology, 21st century technology. You sit at traffic lights. No one's coming. I was in Pittsburgh. They have smart traffic lights, real time. Imagine that. 21st century technology. And we're still working with 19th century technology with metered traffic lights that are set by traffic engineers who go out and do traffic counts and stand around on the corner and then set them according to what they think traffic flows are going to be in the future, which has nothing to do with reality. So, I'm losing patience with what's going on right here. The Senate passed a bill. It's got some decent policy in it. It's got a little more spending. But the leaders of the Senate have said, it's impossible to pay for. We don't know how to pay for that. We can't pay for that. No way to pay for it. Well, if we don't pay for it, we're going to waste a hell of a lot more money every year, year in, year out, day out, and Americans are going to get more and more frustrated. So I hope today's hearing provides some ideas that will help mitigate these problems. But the bottom line is we got to pony up some money or we're not going to solve any problems.